before you close your eyes tonight, I need you to hear this. You are not going to bed defeated. You are going to bed restored. Every heavy thought, every silent battle, every hidden tear, God is about to reset your mind while you sleep. This is not just rest. This is divine recovery. At the end of the day, most people carry far more than they were ever meant to hold. The body may feel tired, but the mind keeps running, replaying conversations, worrying about tomorrow, holding on to moments that brought pain or confusion. This is where surrender becomes powerful. It is not about giving up. It is about letting go of the illusion that you have to control everything. Before you sleep, there is a quiet invitation to release what has been weighing on your heart all day. Surrendering before sleep means choosing peace over pressure. It means recognizing that not every problem needs a solution tonight. So often we try to fix everything in our own strength, thinking that if we just think a little harder or plan a little more, we will finally feel at ease. But that kind of effort usually leads to more exhaustion, not clarity. True rest begins when you decide that it's okay to pause, to stop striving, and to trust that you are not alone in what you're facing. There is something deeply healing about intentionally laying your burdens down. Imagine taking every anxious thought, every fear about the future, every regret from the past, and placing it in God's hands. It is a conscious decision to say, I don't have all the answers, but I trust the one who does. That shift changes everything. It takes the pressure off your mind and allows your spirit to breathe again. You begin to understand that you were never meant to carry everything by yourself. This kind of surrender also requires honesty. You have to be real about what is troubling you. Whether it's fear, disappointment, or uncertainty, acknowledging it is the first step toward releasing it. There is no need to hide or pretend to be strong all the time. Strength is found in letting go, in admitting that you need help, and in trusting that help is already available to you. When you choose to surrender before sleep, you create space for peace to enter. Your mind becomes quieter, your heart feels lighter, and your body can finally rest the way it was designed to. Instead of going to bed with tension, you go to bed with trust. Instead of carrying tomorrow's worries into the night, you allow yourself to be fully present in a moment of calm. Over time, this practice transforms the way you approach life. You begin to understand that you don't have to control every outcome to feel secure. You start to live with a deeper sense of faith, knowing that even when things are uncertain, you are being guided and supported. Each night becomes an opportunity to reset, to release, and to reconnect with a sense of peace that is not dependent on your circumstances. Surrendering before sleep is not a one-time act. It is a daily choice. But with each choice, it becomes easier. The weight feels lighter. The mind feels clearer. And rest becomes more than just sleep. It becomes a moment of true renewal. There is something deeply comforting about realizing that not everything depends on you. So much of the stress people carry comes from the belief that they must solve every problem, fix every situation, and figure out every detail before they can finally rest. But the truth is, some things are beyond human control, and trying to manage them only leads to frustration and exhaustion. This is where trust becomes essential, trusting that even when you are not actively working, something greater is still at work on your behalf. When you lie down at night, your body naturally enters a state of rest, but your mind often resists. It keeps searching for answers, replaying scenarios, and preparing for outcomes that haven't even happened yet. This constant mental activity creates the illusion that if you stop thinking about your problems, they might get worse. But in reality, rest is not neglect. Rest is a form of trust. It is the quiet confidence that you do not have to carry everything into the night. Understanding that God works while you rest changes your perspective completely. It means that progress is still happening even when you are still. It means that solutions can form without your constant effort. While you sleep, your mind resets, your body heals, and your spirit is renewed. In ways you may not even see, things begin to align. Doors you couldn't open on your own start to shift. Clarity that seemed impossible during the day becomes easier to grasp in the morning. This doesn't mean that you stop caring or become passive about your life. It simply means that you release the need to control every outcome. There is a difference between doing your part and trying to do everything. When you have done what you can, the rest does not belong to you. Holding on to it will not make the result better. It will only make you more tired. Letting go allows you to step out of a cycle of stress and into a space of peace. There is also a deeper level of faith involved in this kind of rest. It requires you to believe that even when you cannot see movement, something is still happening. It challenges the idea that productivity must always be visible. Sometimes the most important work is happening beneath the surface, in silence, in stillness, and in moments when you are simply allowing yourself to be at peace. When you embrace this truth, your nights begin to feel different. Instead of lying awake trying to solve everything, you begin to release it. Instead of feeling anxious about tomorrow, you start to feel a sense of calm. You understand that worrying will not change the outcome, but trusting might change your experience of it. Over time, this mindset builds resilience. You wake up with a clearer mind, a calmer heart, and a stronger sense of direction. You begin to notice that things you once stressed over no longer have the same hold on you. Not because the challenges disappeared, but because your approach to them has changed. You are no longer carrying the weight alone. Rest becomes more than just sleep. It becomes an act of faith. It becomes a daily reminder that you are supported, guided, and not expected to have everything figured out all at once. And in that realization, you find a deeper kind of peace that stays with you long after you wake up. One of the most exhausting battles a person can fight is the one happening inside their own mind. It's not always visible to others, but it's constant. Thoughts racing, doubts whispering, memories replaying, and worries stacking on top of each other. Mental chaos doesn't usually arrive all at once. It builds slowly throughout the day. A small worry turns into overthinking. Overthinking turns into anxiety. And before you know it, your mind feels crowded, heavy, and impossible to quiet. Releasing that mental chaos is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let every thought have power over you. Not every thought deserves your attention, and not every fear deserves your belief. Sometimes the mind holds on to things simply because they were never consciously let go. That's why intentional release matters. It creates a boundary between what you experienced and what you continue to carry. So many people live in a loop of replaying past mistakes or imagining worst-case scenarios about the future. They question their worth, their decisions, and their direction. But constantly revisiting these thoughts does not bring clarity. It only deepens confusion. The more you entertain negative thinking, the more real it begins to feel, even if it's not grounded in truth. This is how mental pressure builds, quietly but powerfully. Letting go begins with awareness. You start noticing when your thoughts are becoming overwhelming instead of helpful. You recognize when your mind is creating noise rather than solutions. And in that moment, you make a choice. Not to follow every thought, but to step back from them. It's a shift from being controlled by your mind to observing it with intention. Releasing mental chaos also requires trust. You have to trust that you don't need to solve everything right now. You have to accept that some questions will remain unanswered for a while, and that's okay. The need for constant clarity can become its own form of stress. Peace doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being okay with not knowing everything. There is also a deep sense of freedom in letting go of self-criticism. Many of the thoughts that create chaos are rooted in harsh judgments about oneself. Feeling like you're not doing enough, not good enough, or not moving fast enough can create a constant sense of pressure. But growth doesn't come from tearing yourself down. It comes from giving yourself the space to breathe, to learn, and to move forward without carrying unnecessary guilt. When you begin to release these patterns, your mind slowly becomes lighter. The noise fades, the tension eases, and clarity starts to return. You begin to think with more focus and less fear. You respond instead of reacting. You feel more present instead of overwhelmed. This process doesn't happen instantly, and it doesn't require perfection. Some days will still feel heavy, and some thoughts will still try to take over. But each time you choose to let go instead of hold on, you are creating a new pattern. A pattern of peace, of control, and of inner stability. Over time, your mind becomes a calmer place to live in. Not because life has become perfect, but because you have learned not to carry everything at once. And in that space, you find something powerful, a sense of quiet strength that allows you to face whatever comes next with clarity instead of chaos. Most people think of sleep as just a physical necessity, a way for the body to recharge after a long day. But there is something deeper happening that often goes unnoticed. True rest is not only about closing your eyes, it is about allowing your entire being to be renewed. There is a kind of reset that goes beyond physical recovery, one that reaches into your thoughts, your emotions, and your inner sense of peace. Throughout the day, your mind absorbs so much. Conversations, disappointments, pressure, expectations, and even silent fears all leave an imprint. By the time night comes, your body may be ready to rest, but your mind is still holding on to everything it collected. This is why simply lying down does not always bring peace. Without release, those thoughts continue to circulate, creating tension even in moments meant for rest. A deeper reset begins when you allow yourself to let go before you sleep. It is the intentional act of not carrying the entire day into the night. Instead of replaying every detail or worrying about what tomorrow might bring, you create space for stillness. That stillness is where renewal begins. It is where your mind is no longer overwhelmed and your thoughts are no longer competing for attention. There is something powerful about understanding that renewal does not always require effort. In fact, some of the most important changes happen when you stop striving and simply allow yourself to rest. Your mind has a natural ability to restore itself, but it needs the right environment to do so. When you release stress and quiet the internal noise, you give your mind the space it needs to reset. This kind of reset also involves shifting what you allow to stay with you. Not every experience from the day deserves a place in your thoughts at night. Holding on to negative moments, regrets, or fears only extends their impact. But when you consciously choose to let them go, you break that cycle. You stop giving those thoughts power over your peace. As your mind begins to reset, your perspective slowly changes. Things that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Situations that seemed confusing start to make more sense. It is not because everything around you has changed, but because something within you has shifted. A rested mind sees differently. It responds with clarity instead of reacting with emotion. There is also a sense of emotional renewal that comes with this process. Carrying stress and worry for too long can drain your energy and affect how you feel about yourself and your life. But when you allow yourself to reset, you release that emotional weight. You wake up feeling lighter, more balanced, and more prepared to face the day ahead. This is why rest should never be underestimated. It is not a sign of weakness or laziness. It is a necessary part of growth and stability. Taking time to reset your mind allows you to show up stronger, more focused, and more grounded. It prepares you for what's ahead without overwhelming you in the process. Over time, this practice becomes more natural. You begin to look at each night as an opportunity, not just to sleep, but to renew, to let go of what no longer serves you, and to make space for a clearer, calmer mindset. And in that space, you discover that rest is not just something you need, it is something that transforms you from the inside out. There is a quiet but powerful belief that begins to form when you trust that change is happening, even when you can't immediately see it. Going to sleep with that kind of trust shifts everything. Instead of ending your day feeling defeated or uncertain, you begin to rest with expectation. You start to believe that something within you is being renewed, strengthened, and prepared for what's ahead. And that belief alone begins to reshape how you experience both your nights and your mornings. Transformation doesn't always happen in loud, dramatic moments. Often it begins in stillness, in the unseen spaces where your mind is finally at rest and your heart is no longer overwhelmed. When you release the pressure of the day and allow yourself to rest deeply, you create the conditions for real change to take place. It's not about waking up as a completely different person overnight, but about waking up with a slightly clearer mind, a slightly lighter heart, and a slightly stronger sense of direction. What makes this transformation powerful is its consistency. Each night you choose to let go. Each time you refuse to carry stress into your sleep, you are building a new pattern. You are teaching your mind that it does not have to stay stuck in cycles of fear, doubt, or overthinking. Instead, it can reset, recover, and realign. Over time, those small shifts begin to add up, creating a noticeable difference in how you think, feel, and respond to life. Waking up transformed doesn't mean your problems have disappeared. It means your relationship with those problems has changed. Things that once felt overwhelming may now feel manageable. Situations that once triggered anxiety may now be met with calm. You begin to approach life with more clarity and less emotional weight. This doesn't happen because everything around you has improved, but because something within you has become stronger and more stable. There is also a deeper sense of confidence that grows from this process. When you experience even small moments of renewal, you begin to trust yourself more. You realize that you can move through challenges without being consumed by them. You understand that rest is not setting you back. It is actually moving you forward in a healthier, more sustainable way. This kind of transformation also changes how you view each new day. Instead of waking up already feeling behind or burdened, you wake up with a sense of possibility. Your thoughts are clearer, your emotions are more balanced, and your energy is more focused. You are able to make better decisions, respond more thoughtfully, and carry yourself with a sense of calm that wasn't there before. Over time, this creates a ripple effect in every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you are less reactive. Your work improves because you are more focused. Your overall well-being improves because you are no longer constantly drained by mental and emotional overload. It all begins with something simple but powerful, allowing yourself to rest with trust and expectation. When you truly embrace this process, each morning becomes more than just the start of another day. It becomes evidence that change is happening even in the quiet. You begin to see that transformation is not something you have to force. It is something that unfolds naturally when you give yourself the space to reset, to rest, and to begin again with a renewed mind.